This morning, the spring primary election is today. We're going to have more on the local elections that you'll see on the ballot.
Plus, the governor is set to deliver his budget address tonight. What
Here we go.
Wisconsinites
You got it.
can expect. There you go. Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to News 3 Now this morning. I'm Kyrie Lee, and I'm tongue-tied.
Hey, I'm Chris Stanford. It's a silly word. What do you think about it? Wisconsinites.
I'm like, I should have that one down pat right now, but you know, it's the cold.
Blame it on the cold.
Yeah, the cold's got my brain all fizzled up.
Gosh, it's no joke this morning.
No, it's not actually.
So we've got all these school closings and delays. Some of the districts that are seeing the coldest wind chills have called off today, including Platteville. It's 32 degrees below zero with the wind chill. Mineral Point also sitting at about 30 below with the wind chill this morning. So we've got a handful that have called it off today, a lot more that have delayed.
Yeah, I know those kids probably are rejoicing because I would not want to go out in this. But let's check in now with meteorologist Savannah Brito, who's going to get us up to date on what you need to know as you head out the door. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, we'll show current wind chill values in a second, but alert day conditions because of how low those are this morning. We had that Sunday, yesterday, today. That'll continue one more day, and then we'll finally start to see some relief across all of southern Wisconsin and the state. Negative 25 in Madison, but that's not off to as bad of a start compared to what we just mentioned. Platteville sitting at negative 32, negative 30 in Mineral Point, negative 36 in Camp Douglas. Some of us currently not reporting a wind chill. That's because those winds not gusting as strong as everyone else that is seeing those wind chills at least early this morning. We'll talk about the cold weather advisory and exactly when during the weekend and into early next week we'll finally be starting to see maybe even some 40s return.
Yeah, to clear up any confusion, Mineral Point schools are delayed 2 hours. It may have come across there that they were closed today. So, yeah, Platteville 32 below. They are closed today. Mineral Point's one of the many that are on a delay today. We got those scrolling at the bottom of your screen right now. Some cancellations. Stay up to date on all of it. We've got a live list. Updated by the minute at channel3000.com. Just click the banner at the top of the page for school closings and delays.
Cities of Madison, Middleton, and Fitchburg are reminding people of its warming centers. So if you know anyone who needs to warm up, they can use these shelters. You can see a full list of centers with hours and restrictions also on our website, channel3000.com.
All right, we got a couple more alert days today, tomorrow in the forecast, so you can track those falling temperatures yourself. And when we could see some relief with our free First Warn weather app. Get it wherever you get your app.
Today is the spring primary election in Wisconsin. You need to bring a voter ID to the polls to vote, of course. The Wisconsin Elections Commission has a full list of acceptable forms of ID at bringit.wi.gov. If you do not have any of the acceptable ID forms, you can get a free ID for voting at your local DMV. You can find the necessary documents you'll need to get this ID in the Wisconsin Department of Transportation's website. If you live in Malston, your ballot is going to have an extra question today. The school district is asking people for the third time to vote yes to a referendum question that could save the district.
That's right. The fate of the district at stake potentially today. Our Michelle Renee Quinn has the details to break it all down for us. Good morning.
Chris, Kyrion, good morning. The proposed referendum asks voters to exceed the state-imposed revenue limit by $1.75 million annually for the next 4 years. Now, without the additional funding, the school district could be dissolved by the end of 2026-27 school year. Now, students would then have to be dispersed to neighboring districts, but if approved, the referendum would allow the district to avoid further cuts to staffing and student programs. The district says they would also prioritize preserving small class sizes, a full range of academic programming, and its experienced staff. Now, the estimated impact, if approved, would be around 35 cents for every $1,000 of assessed property value. And this is the third time Austin School District is asking voters to vote yes for funding. Both times prior, voters did not approve the referendum, and the district says they've already implemented substantial cuts for the school year and next school year. And the proposed referendum is essential to maintaining the quality education their students deserve.
All right, a lot on the line in Boston today. Michelle Renee, thank you. In Fitchburg, meantime, voters will have a choice between 3 candidates for District 3 Alder on the City Council. Logan Reistad and Austin Bond are challenging incumbent Jay Allen.
Sun Prairie has 3 candidates on the ballot for City Council, District 1 seat. They are Adam Bougie, Alexander B. Robertson, and Casey Dringler. We will be updating you as the votes come in on channel3000.com and the Channel 3000 mobile app. During our next half hour, we'll break down the race for Department of Public Instruction and other local races.
Happening tonight, Governor Tony Evers will deliver his biennial state budget address. It'll start at 7 o'clock. Evers has already shared some of the details, including investing more than $80 million on Wisconsin farmers and over $145 million to address PFAS contamination. He's also declared 2025 the year of the kid. He did that during his State of the State address. He's looking for funding for Child Care Counts. That program started during the COVID-19 pandemic, and without funding, the program is slated to end in June. Evers says that after the budget, he will decide whether or not he'll run for re-election.
Today, the Department of Defense will start evening training flights in the Madison area. These will last through Friday, February 28th. Homeowners could hear aircraft until 7 o'clock each night, but the Wisconsin National Guard says some flights could last until 2 in the morning.
An investigation's underway into why a Delta Airlines plane crashed and then flipped upside down at Toronto Pearson International. The plane took off from Minneapolis. Take a look at these images. Meteorologists say that there was blowing snow in Toronto. Visibility was down to 6 miles with gusts up to 40 miles an hour. At least 18 people are injured after the crash, and all 80 people on board survived. One passenger recalls the crash.
All of a sudden, everything just kind of went sideways. And then the next thing I know is kind of a blink and I'm upside down, still strapped in.
Canada's Transportation Safety Board has taken the lead on the investigation. A small team of U.S. investigators from the NTSB and Federal Aviation Administration are also assisting.
Flood-ravaged states face 2 new complications from more severe weather. Forecasters say a winter storm will strengthen in the plains today and sweep over the south tomorrow. Emergency responders are rushing to finish flood rescues before it snows. Storms in Kentucky have already claimed 11 lives. Meteorologists also say an Arctic blast is hitting most of the central U.S. today. They predict it could break more than 270 cold records in at least 27 states. Such temperatures can be deadly, especially when water is involved.
Now to the Middle East. Israel's military says forces will remain in 5 strategic locations in Lebanon. That is despite today's deadline for withdrawal under a ceasefire with the Hezbollah militant group. A separate ceasefire in Gaza is also in doubt. That's as the region marked 500 days of the Israel-Hamas war. Israel and the U.S. sending conflicting signals over whether they want the truce to continue. Talks on the ceasefire's second phase have yet to begin.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio is meeting with Russian officials today to discuss an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country was not invited to the negotiations. He says that any deal made without Ukraine will not be recognized. Monday in Paris, French President Emmanuel Macron gathered European and NATO leaders to discuss the conflict on their continent.
All right, back here at home, the city of Monona is going to hold an informational session to help folks get familiar with new transit options. Starting March 3rd, Madison Metro and Madison Paratransit are going to expand services to Monona. Topics in today's meeting will include routes operating to and from Monona, key bus stops, schedules, fares, and other details. It's all happening this evening at 6:30 at the Monona Public Library in the Forum Room.
A reminder, the Spirit of Service campaign is underway as we look to honor our local veterans making a positive impact in the community. News 3 Now is partnering with Vortex and giving back to veterans. All you have to do is head to channel3000.com and nominate a veteran in your life doing something good. Over the coming weeks, we'll be sharing their stories, and you'll get to vote to choose which veteran gets to take home a $5,000 cash prize. A winner will be announced in early April.
Always so inspiring. Can't wait to start hearing these stories this year.
And over 100 nominations last year, so let's see what you guys can do this year.
Let's see it.
All right, Savannah, what's coming up?
Guys, temperatures right now are sitting a lot colder than yesterday, negative double digits. We'll see a high around 8, but when we could see the 40s, I'll have that coming up.
And we're continuing our team coverage for primary day in Wisconsin. We're going to talk to the City of Madison Clerk's office on any last minute advice for Wisconsin voters. That's next.
You're watching News 3 Now this morning. Moving forward.
6:12, we're back on this primary election day, checking in with our local election officials for some last-minute advice for voters.
Our Josh Sprider is live in Madison, continuing our team coverage this morning. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. We're at a polling location here on Madison's near west side. Luckily inside because it is so ridiculously cold outside. I'm joined this morning by Jim Verbick. He's the deputy clerk for the city of Madison. Jim, good morning to you.
Good morning. Happy Election Day.
Yes, happy Election Day, and I'm happy we are inside too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, we're going into primary day in Wisconsin. What's your biggest message to voters heading out today?
Yeah, I would say make sure you dress warm. We're certainly not going to have long lines outside. We normally never do. But make sure if you're going to be here, if you're not registered already, bring something to register, bank statement, utility bill, things like that. And then bring a voter ID in order to vote, whether you're registered or not registered.
Yeah, obviously two big stories today. Obviously it's primary day, but it is really, really cold outside. Are you guys nervous that that's going to impact Election Day turnout at all here for the primary?
It probably will, yeah.
You know, what sort of message would you have for folks heading out today, even though it is really cold out? You know, you mentioned no long lines, stuff like that, trying to get people inside.
Yeah, absolutely, and make sure to bring the documentation you need. If you don't have your ID, you can always vote provisionally and then cure that before Friday to make sure that your vote counts. But yeah, make sure to dress warm, but we're all here and we're all in our locations around the city and we're happy to have our voters here to vote.
You know, spring primary a little bit different than the fall election. You know, what makes the primary different for you guys as far as setting up and as far as poll workers go?
Yeah, not a whole lot different. I mean, it's the same sort of process as far as like testing the ballots and having what is on the ballot is varying, but for the most part, the setup and all the administrative stuff that happens beforehand is really all the same.
Of course, you know, this is a team effort and you have so many poll workers, some setting up here at this polling location today. You know, what's your message for all of those volunteers helping out today?
Yeah, we absolutely could not do it without them. We're very thankful for all of our election officials that we have that do this every election and help out throughout the, we have some people that work the entire day, especially our chief inspectors, and then even the people that work half shifts. It's still a long day for everyone. We're very appreciative of all the work that they do.
Is there anything different that folks can expect to see as far as going out and voting today?
No, it should be the same. It should be the same as any other election as far as what they see, as far as the setup and everything like that, yeah.
You know, I think it's always good to thank a poll worker because a lot of these folks, like you mentioned, are volunteering a lot of their time.
Yeah, absolutely. They do a lot of great work, and some are volunteers and some are paid. Even if they're paid, yeah, we pay our poll workers, but we certainly can't thank them enough.
Any final messages for our viewers who are heading out to vote today?
Well, thank you, and yeah, we're here for voting, so go vote.
Awesome. Jim, thank you so much, and thanks for getting us inside this morning, too.
Yeah, no problem.
If you'd like to learn more, again, we are your Election Day headquarters. Just go to channel3000.com. Coming up in our next half hour, we'll be speaking to the Dane County Clerk as well, getting his message out before polls open here officially in about 45 minutes. Luckily enough, we get to vote inside today at most of these locations across the city because it is really, really cold outside, guys. So do dress warm if you're heading out this morning.
Yes, I think the challenge is going to be getting outside first to get there. So
Cold's no joke today. All right, Josh.
Big time.
Talk to you soon. Savannah, what do you think? We're going to need a coat today?
Oh, maybe several. I don't know. Put all your winter coats that you have, jackets, sweatshirts, all of that in layers because, yes, very cold outside. We're sitting at -11. That's even without the wind chill factored in this morning. -12 in Middleton, -11 in Verona, -15 in Sauk City. There are other air temperatures that are sitting close to -20. Lone Rock's at -18. Camp Douglas, Wisconsin Dells, and Black River Falls currently reporting an air temperature as low as -22. With the wind chills factored in, those are as low as -25 to -35. A couple areas are cooler than that. This is the wind chill forecast at noon. Most of us will be sitting still about -10 to -15. A couple areas north and west of Madison could still be even holding on to what feels like -20 to -25 at that point in time. This is the warmest point of the day, -10. A couple areas, mainly east of Madison towards Milwaukee, might see a wind chill as warm as -5. That's not warm by any means, though. Dangerous wind chills factored in all day long. That's why we have alert day conditions today. And then still into tomorrow, expect nighttime wind chills waking up early Wednesday to still be sitting at about -25. A couple spots still will be reporting a wind chill value as low as -30 overnight into early Wednesday. This is our cold weather advisory in effect until lunchtime, noon this afternoon. Another one will go into effect, though, tonight at midnight and last till 10 a.m. tomorrow. Watoma, Black River Falls, those areas cooler. And then well west of Madison, Decorah, Iowa, also Dubuque, sitting in the extreme cold warning. We'll probably see that issued for some counties tomorrow, not locally across the board, but mainly northwest, because there will be a little bit of an improvement by about 5 to 10 degrees, but it's going to stay sub-zero now until we're heading into Friday. Even Thursday afternoon will still be cold with wind chills around -5. What is a wind chill, though? Wind takes the heat away from the body. It can only be felt by living things. And when you have as low as wind chills as what we're seeing this morning, -35, frostbite can happen in as little as 15 minutes. When you have those as low as -15, which we'll see all day today, that can happen in as little as about 30 minutes. So definitely dress accordingly. Multiple layers, leave no skin exposed. We'll actually finally be back to 20 by Thursday with some sun, and then maybe a 40 by Sunday. This weekend is looking much, much better.
Nothing intentional here. Whoa.
Now to your morning sports. Just before halftime of Wisconsin's win at Purdue, Kamari McGee got ejected from the game after what some say is a questionable call. For a moment, losing their vocal leader took the wind out of Wisconsin's sails, but not for long. The team rallied and took down Purdue on without one of their best players, and they say they're better for it.
We played for a little something more than just Wisconsin. It was for Kamari. And when we came into the halftime in the locker room, we saw him and we were like, we're going to go back out there. We're going to get the job done for you.
It meant a lot. And I could even speak on the celebration during the game. I was back there. I had it pulled up on my phone. And it was just loud. I'm sure the guys who were outside our doors at work at Purdue heard me yelling. I was yelling after every bucket. Anybody scored, I was yelling. So, just watching the team come through, it really meant a lot that they had my back.
And thanks to that big win, the Badgers just keep moving up in the polls. They're up another 5 spots this week, so they're at 11th in the AP Top 25. That's the highest ranking of any Big Ten team. They say this Badger team will go as far as John Tonje will take them, and right now the transfer is on fire. He's averaging 24 a game during Bucky's 6-game winning streak, including that 32-point masterpiece at Purdue. For his efforts, he was named the Naismith National Player of the Week.
UW-Madison announced their new general manager, Marcus Sedbury. He has been this school's deputy athletic director for the last 2 years. In the role, Sedbury will oversee roster management, player personnel, and operations for the program.
Pretty cool. All right, 6:20 still ahead. We're going to talk about the self-checkout lane, and we'll have some weather trivia.
We're back right after this.
Can we talk about the dresses?
Oh, you didn't have to bring it up.
Look at these two. Is that the exact same dress?
Yeah, we're just
Listen, Kyrion wore it. It was way too cute. I was like, I gotta have it. And then we both came to work today.
then we happened
It's
to
not planned?
Not planned.
And she was dressed way before I was.
I was hours. Yeah, that's why I can't sit over there. I can't sit next to you today.
She said she wanted to put some space in between us.
So here I am.
Thanks, Chris.
I am the space between this morning.
There we go.
Well, trending this morning, Shakira is back on tour after a brief stint in the hospital. Here she is leaving her hotel yesterday in Lima, Peru, after she was hospitalized for an abdominal issue. She canceled her Sunday show, performed last night, though, getting her world tour back on track. Fans in Peru have been waiting a decade for her to perform. That's great. Great to hear that she's back at it.
Yeah, glad she's okay.
Yes, those hips don't lie.
Another talker this morning, more stores are scaling back on self-checkout lanes. For stores, it's supposed to be a cost saver. For customers, a time saver. But we may be at a crossroads. Target now says that they're rolling out express self-checkout with a limit of 10 items and opening more traditional lanes. Walmart's scaling back as well. We've seen Hy-Vee do this. I don't know. Do we like this or what?
No, absolutely not.
I'm not a fan, and I can
always use self-checkout.
I can do it quicker.
Yes.
Yep.
The lines aren't as long most of the time.
I was at Aldi's this weekend. The line was all the way to the back of the store. They only had one traditional register open, and everybody else was self-checkout.
Yeah.
So I'm like, at least it's going fast.
It's definitely a trend.
Yeah.
I like self-checkout because I bag it the way I like it.
Yeah, that too.
That's that.
Yeah, you can't mix your meats with your fruits and bread, right?
Well, yeah, I try to organize it for them on the conveyor
And
belt.
colds, yeah. Well, the weather trivia question again related to more cold because we have the alert day conditions in place. Our coldest temperature ever recorded in the United States is negative 80 degrees. Ooh. Where did it happen?
All right.
Wisconsin, Washington, Maine, or Alaska?
I feel like it makes the most sense to be Alaska.
I'm gonna say Maine.
Okay. Maine and Alaska?
Wisconsin.
You're going Wisconsin. It is Alaska.
Okay. Okay, I was just thinking Maine's always cold too.
Yes, I tried to pick North states and then, of course, had to throw Wisconsin in there. That was on January 23rd, 1971. Negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit.
Ooh, yeah.
Talk about cold.
I couldn't do it.
No, absolutely not. I mean, we're talking about dangerous wind chills here. Can't imagine negative 80. We'll talk about the cold weather advisory in effect coming up.
This morning, primary election day in Wisconsin. We'll look at some of the key races and how Madison is making sure that your vote counts.
Plus, prison overhaul. New details on the changes Governor Tony Evers wants to see in prisons across the state.
Boy, is it cold out there today.
I don't think there's any other way to describe it.
I haven't been outside in a few hours. I'm still trying to warm up.
I was going to say the exact same thing. I feel like I'm still recovering from walking outdoors like this morning.
Oh, man, no joke out there. You know, wind chills that we're seeing this morning.
I'm still recovering.
I like how you have different blankets. It's not just one blanket. You've got multiple blankets.
One's a heated blanket that I have to plug in, and then I have just this one. It's a deer blanket, so I thought it was very fitting.
Okay, so it's camouflage so people at home can't see it.
Exactly, under the tables and stuff, but it's there.
Yeah, I mean, got some school delays, some closures because Savannah, these dangerous wind chills that the first one the team had in the forecast for several days they are really settling in.
Yeah, and this is even without the wind chill taken into consideration. We're at negative 11. That's our air temperature, mostly clear skies. Our winds, those gusts have been about 20 to 25 miles per hour overnight, driving those wind chills as low as negative 30 to negative 35. A couple spots even reported a colder wind chill. By 8 a.m., little to no improvement, negative 8, negative 3 at 10 a.m. And then by the lunchtime hour, a high near 3 degrees with some sunshine. We are going to have mostly sunny skies all day, but that's not necessarily going to help warm things up by any means. We'll have wind chills factored in well below zero all day long. This is what we're waking up to right now, negative 25 in Madison. Look at Mineral Point, negative 32, negative 36 in Camp Douglas. We'll talk about when we could see the 40s, and yes, we're talking about positive 40, not negative 40.
That's good to hear because I can't take this any longer.
I know.
Well, the City of Madison's snow emergency is no longer in effect. If you're wondering, that means the alternate side parking rules from recent days do not apply within the snow emergency zone. This zone is the red area highlighted on the map you see on your screen right now. The snow emergency ending means the free overnight parking in garages is also over. So if you're outside of this area, alternate side parking still applies. That means this morning your vehicle should be parked on the even side of the road. Otherwise, you could be fined or towed.
We still have some falling temperatures over the next few days. Track those fluctuations yourself with the free First Warn weather app. All right, to our spring primary coverage now. If you haven't voted yet, there's still time to get what you need.
The polls open in just about 30 minutes, and you'll need to bring a voter ID to the polls to vote. The Wisconsin Elections Commission has a full list of acceptable forms of identification at bringit.wi.gov. So if you don't have any of those, you can get a free ID for voting at your local DMV. You can find the necessary documents you'll need to bring to get an ID at the Wisconsin Department of Transportation's website. Just go to wisconsindot.gov and click free ID for voting.
Well, this election day is the first since the general election in November. It's also the first in Madison since the State Elections Commission launched an investigation into unprocessed absentee ballots. 193 absentee ballots in Madison went uncounted in November. The city clerk says they've since taken some extra precautions. The Wisconsin Elections Commission calls this a serious oversight error.
We've done training on using a new checklist at the polls on processing absentees. We've redesigned a lot of our materials. So at the polls tomorrow, the poll workers have additional test sheets for closing the polls to double check and triple check that everything's been processed. And then we have extra items that we're checking in the clerk's office at the end of election day as well.
Dane County Clerk Scott McDonald expects turnout to be pretty low this year. Madison typically sees among the highest voter turnout for state primaries.
Also today, the state Supreme Court will release its decision on the legality of mobile voting vans. Last September, the justices heard a case on whether a Republican had standing to bring a lawsuit challenging the van's use. The single van, used once in Racine for a primary election in 2022, allowed voters to cast absentee ballots in the 2 weeks leading up to the election. As you're heading to the polls, the only statewide nonpartisan race on your ballot will be for Wisconsin's top education official.
3 candidates running in this race. Our Michelle Renee Quinn is here to break down where they stand on some of the important issues. Michelle Renee.
Chris, Kyrion, good morning. Dr. Jill Underly is seeking a second term, and her challengers are the Sauk Prairie Superintendent Jeff Wright and Education Consultant Brittany Kinsner. Now, both Wright and Kinsner do not support Underly's change last summer of lowering the scoring standards for forward tests. Wright believes that it will be harder to track student progress post-pandemic by lowering the standards. He says, quote, "The only way we can determine whether or not we've really closed the gaps or adjusted to those learning loss is the learning loss experienced by kids is by judging them by the same consistent metric." Meanwhile, Kinsner wants to return Wisconsin schools to high standards.
We don't want to lower them like they are right now because we know, and I know, that when we set expectations high for kids, they can meet that.
When looking at funding and local referendums, Kinsner believes the money needs to go into the classroom, while Wright says the state over-relies on local property taxes and districts should not have to turn to taxpayers.
It's time for us to revise that formula so that we don't have to rely so much on property taxes.
Underly places the blame on legislature putting money into private school vouchers.
Legislature has expanded and put more funding into school privatization or vouchers. And in urban school districts like Madison, large school districts, it's millions of dollars every year that are coming out of our public school budget.
In her recent budget proposal, she requested nearly $60 million for teacher retention, something that all of the candidates agree and support, finding ways to increase teacher retention in Wisconsin. Now, our Ellie LaLiberte sat down with all 3 candidates in the weeks leading to this election, and you can find those full interviews and more information on channel3000.com.
Sure, Renee, thank you for breaking it all down this morning.
Also today in Madison, some seats are up for Common Council. Let's take a look at them. In District 9, that's the westernmost district, just south of Middleton. Nikki Conklin is the incumbent there. She served since 2021 and sits on 4 city committees. Rick Cruz is a school finance consultant with the State Department of Public Instruction. Joanne Pritchett is a co-founder of the African American Health Network.
Now to District 10 on Fitchburg's north border, Yannette Figueroa Cole is running for re-election. She also served since 2021. Sherry Carter previously served on the Common Council for 8 years. Lisa Veldren is a former city council administrator holding that position for 36 years.
District 12 in Madison, that encompasses the airport and areas south of it. Incumbent Alder Amani Latimer Burris is seeking a second term. Julia Matthews is a program analyst at the UW School of Medicine. Hussein Amak announced last week that he's withdrawing because of a family emergency. He'll nonetheless still be on the ballot in the 12th district. In each district, the top 2 will move on to the general election April 1st. The winner will serve until the following April.
As the votes come in tonight, you can see the results for yourself on channel3000.com and the Channel 3000 mobile app. 6:37, Madison police say a man is in the Dane County Jail after a shooting on the south side. He is being charged with recklessly endangering safety and possession of methamphetamine. Officers responded to Dutch Mill Road for reports of a person with a gunshot wound early Saturday morning. First responders took the victim to the hospital. The victim says he and the suspect know each other. Officers were able to find the suspected shooter and arrest him.
Well, we're learning more about Governor Tony Evers' proposed overhaul of the state's prison system. A major part of the efforts involves renovations. $325 million would go towards changes in multiple facilities, including closing the embattled youth prison in northern Wisconsin, Lincoln Hills. Those inmates would move to smaller facilities across the state, including a new youth facility being constructed in Oregon. Governor Evers says that by renovating instead of rebuilding, it significantly reduces the price tag.
And we need Republican lawmakers to get on board with this plan. There's not an alternative to my plan that is safer, faster, and cheaper, period.
It's all about sitting down and having a conversation. So hopefully we'll get that going, get that conversation going.
This is all part of the governor's 2-year budget plan. We'll hear more when he delivers his budget address tonight.
Newer variants of the bird flu have some people worried about the safety of the food supply. It's unclear whether the newer bird flu variant poses a bigger threat to people, but the virus has been detected in cows. Right now, the danger of the virus spreading to the food supply remains low, but doctors with the Cleveland Clinic say raw milk should be avoided.
We have not seen any human cases related to that, but since raw milk doesn't go through the pasteurization process, which is known to kill bacteria and viruses, there is the potential for transmission with raw milk products.
Experts say people who work on farms or have backyard flocks are at higher risk for being infected with bird flu. Symptoms of the virus in humans may include eye redness and other flu-like symptoms like cough, sore throat, runny or stuffy nose, and body aches.
Well, the Ford F-150 is no longer America's #1 vehicle. Data from JATO Dynamics says that the new #1 is Toyota's RAV4. The pickup truck was in the top spot for 4 decades. Researchers say the RAV4's hybrid powertrain is a big reason for its rise in popularity. Meantime, Honda CR-V sales are up while Tesla Model Y sales are down.
Savannah, what's coming up?
It's very cold outside. Our actual air temperature is at -11 right now. That's going to rise only to 8 degrees this afternoon, but we'll talk about the 30s and 40s that are underway.
Plus, it's primary day in Wisconsin. We're continuing our team coverage this morning with a live interview with Dane County Clerk Scott McDonald when News 3 Now This Morning continues.
You're watching News 3 Now This Morning. Moving forward.
Lewis and Sheila from Verona. Savannah, plan our day.
Absolutely love that video. If you're like Lewis and Sheila in Verona, it's going to be cold really no matter where you're located across southern Wisconsin this morning. We're dealing with air temperatures that are down to about -11 in Madison. We'll slowly start to see temperatures come up a little bit, -6 by 9 in the morning. 3 degrees at least will be positive and have positive temperatures, but not wind chills when you factor those in. Those are expected to stay sub-zero all day long. 8 degrees, that'll be our high around 3 p.m. We'll have the sunshine. It's not going to help things warm up, though. The alert day conditions still through Wednesday all across southern Wisconsin. Morning wind chill values today, -30 to -35. Tomorrow, we'll see it -25 to -30. Even during the afternoon hours, though, those are going to be low, about -15 to -20. Right now, we're waking up to -21 or 29 in Mineral Point, -25 in Madison, -20 in Janesville, and -31 in Monroe. So there still are several places across southern Wisconsin reporting as a low of wind chills as -30 to -35, even Camp Douglas, and Wisconsin Dells lower than that at -36. That's the wind chill, what it feels like outside. Everyone's included in a cold weather advisory. That's in effect until noon, but Watoma and Black River Falls, basically north and then super far west of the area, Madison, southern Wisconsin, into portions of Minnesota and then out in Iowa, that's actually an extreme cold warning that's in place. We'll see another one get put in place at midnight tonight and then run until 10 in the morning tomorrow. Wind chill, that's when wind takes heat away from the body. It can only be felt by living things. And frostbite, that can happen in as little as about 15 minutes when you have wind chills that are as low as what we're experiencing early this morning. Later in the afternoon, though, we're still going to be having dangerous and dealing with dangerous wind chills in 30 minutes, as little as 30 minutes. You can see frostbite happen in as little when we have wind chills down to about -15. And again, I think we're going to see that definitely sub-zero all day long tomorrow too, but they're going to come up to what feels like -5 during the afternoon and morning hours on Thursday. So we'll eventually see some improvement, but really not until Sunday when temperatures are finally going to be back to above average. It looks like that temperature pattern going to stick around for some time, which is good news because after this yet again another cold stretch, we'll finally see temperatures rebound and flip-flop. So really looking forward to those 40s. Just got to get through today and tomorrow.
I mean, it's still going to be pretty cold on Thursday and Friday morning. Like, we're going to get a little bit more relief during the day, but...
Yeah, we'll still have wind chills factored in those days. They just won't be as dangerous as what we're seeing today and tomorrow.
Yes, I'm just ready to get past this little rough patch.
Yeah.
So we can be on the up and up.
March is almost here, right?
Oh, yes.
We're close to March
I hope
now.
March brings good things.
Me
good
too.
things. Yes, that's all I'm asking for. Savannah, thank you. And if you want Savannah to play in your day, she'd love to do so. Just record a video like you saw earlier. Share your name and where you live, then send it our way. You can send it via our website, the First Warn Weather app, Facebook Messenger, or email. Then watch around this time every morning to see if you come on the air. Well, on this primary election day, we're checking in with our local election officials for last-minute advice for voters.
Josh Breider is live in Madison, continuing our team coverage this morning. Good morning, Josh.
Hey, good morning. We've got Dane County Clerk Scott McDonald joining us dark and early on this really cold primary day. Good morning, Scott.
Morning. How's it going?
Oh, it's going well. At least you're inside. Thanks for letting us in.
Absolutely, yeah. Cold day.
You know, obviously that's one of the biggest headlines coming out of this primary because it is so extremely cold outside. Is that a concern going into today for you at all?
Not from an election management point of view, but from a voter point of view. You worry about people skipping voting just because of how cold it is.
And something like this, as far as a primary day, I mean, voter turnout is a big deal. That matters.
Absolutely. I always say these low turnout races like in February, your vote matters so much more. Just think about it. It's going to be a close race for superintendent. And, there's probably have 12, 14% turnout statewide. So your vote's going to be worth a lot more than normal. So I'm definitely voting today.
What is your best advice for voters that are maybe kind of teetering that line? Like, do I go out? Do I cast my ballot today?
Well, the one thing I'd say is you're going to be in and out of there right away. There won't be, it won't be crowded. You'll be able to park near the front of the polling place. So from that point of view of the cold, you'll be in and out of there pretty quick.
Are things any different for primary? Are folks going to see anything different on their ballot or the way the process works today?
In general, there'll be one race, so superintendent, although there'll be a few aldermanic primaries. There's a Monona Grove school board primary, so there may be something else on your ballot, but for the most part, it's just going to be superintendent. But it's an important job, and it's going to be competitive.
Obviously, your job as election worker, you're trying to make this as easy as a process for all of the voters. Any advice for folks as they're heading out to the polls today?
Just remember to bring your ID, and it's a good opportunity to register if you need to change your address or if you have a name change. I don't know, people get married here at our office and something, they got to change their name. So it's a good opportunity to do that because it'll be fast.
What do you have for a message as far as all the poll workers go? Because obviously there's a lot of people that are volunteering their time and they come back year after year to do this.
Yeah, they're so important, and we need them for elections like this that are not as sexy as some of the other ones. We get a lot of people volunteering for presidential. And really, it's these races where we need folks. And, we lose people going to Florida. You can see why on a day like this. But, really, make sure you thank them when you're in the polls today.
Obviously, yeah, the fall 2024 election is a much, bigger perspective. But, this is a big deal, too. There are some big names on the ballot today for folks.
Yeah, I think, how the schools challenged they are, how difficult it can be. What they do is really important. So, even just from a point of view of property values, I always worry about our schools. Even my kids are graduated now, but it matters to all of us that we have good schools.
It's a big deal, so get out and vote.
All right.
All right, Scott, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Again, we're your Election Day headquarters. Just go to channel3000.com. Everything you need to know. Polls will be opening here, about 13 minutes. So almost time to head out and vote, guys.
All right, Josh, thank you so much. We'll check back in a little bit. And coming up in the morning sprint, a look at what the federal agency DOGE is targeting next.
If you got a little kiddo turning 3 soon, send us a picture. We'll show it on TV to help them celebrate. Morning sprint is coming up next. 6:53, time for the morning sprint.
Happening today, it is primary election day in Wisconsin. On ballots across the state is the race for DPI superintendent. In Malston, voters will see an operational referendum for the public school district. If voters do not approve the funding, it could place the school district's future in doubt. There are also primary elections for city councils in Madison and surrounding cities.
If you haven't voted yet, there's still time to get what you need. You'll need to have a voter ID at the polls or your regular ID. The Wisconsin Elections Commission does have a full list of acceptable forms of identification at bringit.wi.gov. If you don't have any of those, you can still get a free ID to vote at your local DMV. There's information on that at wisconsindot.gov.
Also today, the state Supreme Court will release its decision on the legality of mobile voting vans. Last September, the justices heard a case on whether a Republican had standing to bring a lawsuit challenging the van's use. The single van, used once in Racine for a primary election in 2022, allowed voters to cast absentee ballots in the 2 weeks leading up to the election.
City of Madison's snow emergency is no longer in effect. That means alternate side parking rules from recent days don't apply within the snow emergency zone. This zone is the red area highlighted on the map. The snow emergency ending means that the free overnight parking in city garages is also over. If you're outside this area, alternate side parking rules still apply.
The cities of Madison, Middleton, and Fitchburg are reminding people of their warming centers. Anyone who needs to warm up can use these shelters. You can see a full list of centers with hours and restrictions on channel3000.com. That's also where you can find the full list of school closings and delays. We have them scrolling at the bottom of your screen right now.
Madison police have a man in custody after a shooting on the south side. It happened Saturday morning around 5 a.m. Officers responded to Dutch Mill Road for reports of a person with a gunshot wound. First responders rushed the victim to the hospital. That person says that he and the shooter know each other, though. Officers did end up finding the suspect and placed him under arrest.
DOJ is seeking access to taxpayer data from the IRS. Two people familiar with the plans told the Associated Press on Monday. This could give Elon Musk and his new agency access to taxpayer information and bank records. The White House says this is part of its effort to fight waste, fraud, and abuse. Opponents fear this move could allow DOJ to maliciously target Americans.
We're waking up to wind chills, some -20 to as low as -35 this morning. Dangerously low. Frostbite can happen in as little as about 25 to 30 minutes. So be sure to dress accordingly this morning. We're only going to rise to a high of 8 degrees this afternoon, but then 40s come into play as early as Sunday potentially.
Yeah,
so
just get to the 40s.
Silver lining, yes.
Well, thanks for the positive note.
Yes.
We'll have a news and weather update in 30 minutes.